VenomousStare, the king of pocket jacks, returns to talk about my favorite player ever, STX Soul Innovation, in my favorite era ever, the beginning of Heart of the Swarm. This was when all the God tier Kesper Koreans came over, and it was a really exciting time because the GSL was already so incredible. It was like the best. It would be like if your favorite TV show suddenly had like 20 God tier new characters. Oh, it was just incredible. And Innovation is this character that stands head and shoulders above the rest and is almost like this unfathomably powerful guy who's such an insane heavy favorite that he made the earth shake and he made people's jaws drop, and he was the consensus best player, and he was the best player in an era where nobody knew what the limit was. Yeah, when a game like Legacy of the Void's been out for 7 years, we sort of know what can go on and how players play and like the limitations of the game. It wasn't like that at this time. It was a much more enjoyable experience and much less mundane. Yes, there was an established metagame like Mutiling Baneling versus Bio, and everybody loved it and it was exceptional. But as far as what you could do with that and the different tricks and the micro and the execution and the macro cycles, the decisions you could make, the different little variations in the tech you could do. For instance, last game we saw Innovation mix into his build tanks when he's known for building Hellions to try to stop an aggressive Roach using player who had cheesed him in the previous 2 matches. That was an important game and revenge for the previous GSL. I really recommend that you guys be watching these videos in order because it's very important to like the narrative and the story. And you should be liking these as well and subscribing and hitting the bell. As we see Soulkey sniffing around for a 2-racks before he makes his fucking first hatchery, that's hilarious. But this is what I'm talking about. I wasn't just prattling on about 2-racks for 5 minutes for no reason. In a best of 7 series, it really matters. You know, like, don't think that, like, I say 2-racks matters and you, like, go do it on ladder and beat in some poor bastard Zerg's head in and think, like, oh, 2-racks matters. Like, no. What I'm saying is in a best of 7 series, this is a cheese strategy that you can show your opponent to worry them and have them potentially alter their build orders. Soulkey wants to be going 3 hatch before pool every single game if he can. That's pretty unlikely against a top tier player, so what he's probably going to have to do is go hatch first in most of the games, and then maybe if he knows Inno's going to go CC first, he can go 3 hatch before pool, and then get an economic advantage that way. StarCraft 2, now Legacy of the Void, the Reaper's so good that these intricacies have been stripped from the game, thus nullifying the important sort of decisions you can make in the early game to dictate whether or not you're going to get an advantage. Now it's like the Reaper's LOL, it's going to scout everything, it's too good not to make, and it literally renders builds like 3 hatch before pool worthless. So the game was frankly like more interesting at this time because this was the perfect culmination of having like an established metagame in Wings of Liberty, and everyone really liked Wings and watched Wings but were excited for a new thing. And whenever Heart of the Swarm came out, it was a beautiful breath of fresh air and it was so entertaining. And this matchup specifically, Terran vs Zerg, was incredible. Terran had so many weapons. The Hellbat was insanely strong. The Widowmine was insanely strong. The Ignite Afterburners were insanely strong. And this made for exceptionally entertaining games, especially when the Zerg player went for Mutiling Baneling. We saw that high, excuse me, we saw the high frequency of engagements occur, and I wonder if Innovation is going to do a Hellbat drop build. There it is. But I was originally going to say I wonder if he's going to do the Widowmine build, but he did make an armory, so that was very unlikely. But in one of the previous games on this map, we saw him do this insane Widowmine drop where the Zerg wasn't expecting it and hadn't gotten lair yet, and he shut down mining for like 60 seconds. Because if you don't know, as we see a quick third CC go down, of course, the Widowmine in this era didn't show up after it blew its load. You didn't need an upgrade for it to do that. His Innovation loses his Hellbat drop. That is crazy. but he went for a fast Hellbat drop there and threw it away, which is like really unlike Innovation. But I think he was surprised that there was so much Roach Ling. What you really in like static defense in each base, which is like really intelligent. His Innovation is known to put the pressure on and do drops. And on this map, it's really common for Zerg for you to fight over the 4th base and for Terran to drop your main. And we can see that Soulkey, he's aware of the Hellbat drops and how powerful they are. This was something that you faced a lot on ladder, and it was most hilarious in TVT where players would have to build like bunkers in their mineral line and shit. It was just like Hellbat drops versus Hellbat drops before they got nerfed. It was absolutely insane, and that's really the reason that it got nerfed. And the Hellbat drop is something that has an extraordinary amount of power for the user who's unsuspecting, and the spine just really helps here. This is what I'm talking about. Like, the spine really does not cost that much for how much it's going to help you. It's going to help you versus Hellbat drop, Widowmine drop, normal drop, Hellion run by. Like, it's just so good not to make one spine like that against a really sharp, aggressive opponent, especially in this era when they had so many options. Soulkey getting creep down on a 3rd, but a little late. You want to have that Overlord out there with the complete pool of creep dropped, because if you get the whole drop, it's a really long. It's like 30 or 60 seconds. I don't remember what it was at this time, but it's a big pain in the ass to wait for it to dissipate if you have it up there the whole time. And look at that. Like Spore and Spine in the mineral line with Roach Ling running around. Soulkey really does not want to die. He's going Hydra here, which like, I always thought that Hydras were terrible against Terran. And remember, there are no Ravagers and Lurkers at this time, so you're fighting against mines, which like, yeah, it's better than fighting like with Lings into mines. Like mines ate up Lings at the time, they did way more splash. So there was a thought process of like, well, if you don't want to die to the mines, like Roaches and Hydras are better against the mines. But then you have fucking Roaches and Hydras against Terran Bio, which has never been good. You would much rather go Mutiling, Baneling, and have the versatility to harass. Because ultimately you're doing this. Like you're out on the map trying to fight with your fucking Man Zerg army, and they have Terran units, like for Christ's sake, like they're gonna build marauders. You're doing this against Innovation. You know, you're not doing this against Drewby. He's going to have a ton of stuff. He's not going to miss macro cycles. So it's like, what are you really hoping to accomplish? Like, you have to poke around because the Roach Hydra doesn't scale for shit. You can't turn your Roaches into Ravagers. And look at that. Like, the mines are still going to go off in these big fights. That's what you have to really consider too. Like, you can't. It's sort of like a meme as we see another fight occur here, as the mines need to be microed, and they are a little slow there, really slow on the micros. Innovation makes, honestly, a pretty sloppy micro error, and that's because he was microing a drop in the main. But that's like what you hope, honestly, like that's what you hope for when you go Roach Hydra. It's like the guy's microing a drop in your base and he stooges half of his army into yours, and look at that, at the end of the day you still have Hydras, and 3 Marauders coming out are going to be able to clean it up. Like, this style is just not any good. It's not really fun to watch. This was definitively the era of the Mutiling Baneling, and the Widow Mines are still very useful as the Hydras are taking heavy hits. They simply put cannot trade well when they are against an army that is consistently macroed as innovations. As we see, the main is just being rotted out for the Zerg, and Innovation has just displayed his textbook really good macro. And even though the Zerg player slammed in with a big army and traded out Inno's army, he wasn't able to deal significant damage. And Inno is in a position where he has dealt significant damage to his opponent, and he's going to outscale his opponent as well. This is one of those things where, like, you can't be over-attacking. You want them to attack to you with mines on the high ground, and you want to go Marauder heavy. And the Roach front line will just start to not scale at all. Like, the Zerg will be in a position where if you have enough medevacs, you're not going to be able to lose a fight as Terran. The two things that are important about fights like this, like just assume that you have enough Marauders, it's the upgrades and the medevac count. Once you have like 10 plus medevacs, the Zerg army is just not going to win a sustained fight. And this is what we're starting to see. This is how like every Roach Hydra versus really good Bio Terran looked at the time. Remember, they can't go Vipers. They didn't exist. Like the Infestor has been nerfed. So it's just a tough day for Zerg, honestly. You're in this position where, okay, well, I don't want to go Mutiling Baneling against Inno. Like, he is unstoppable when people try to face him straight up. So I'm going to go Hydras. It's good against his mind style. I'm not going to take any damage in the early game. If you try to fight Hellbat drops with pure Ling, the Terran player is just going to eat up. Like, as the lair is killed there, and that's probably going to be curtains for Soulkey, as he doesn't really have any plan here macro-wise. He's down on workers, his army's getting outscaled, and Innovation is in a position where he's fighting a Zerg who has no creep spread between his 3rd and 4th bases. Oh my god, he Manamules the shit out of him. He says, "Get the fuck out of my game." He's like, "What was that, son?" The kid's like, "That's called a Manamule, Pop." He's like, "What does that mean, son?" It means get the fuck out of my game. Innovation, just like super confident. This is a guy who isn't a huge shit talker and is like a pretty reserved guy, plays an honorable style. He's not like Marine King where he's gonna 2-racks you and use like the 50 energy. He's not gonna use Soulkey was called the Monkey Terran. Or the Monkey Zerg rather. But he's not like, Innovation isn't like Marine King. He's not going to Mannermule you. So seeing Inno Mannermule guys is pretty funny. He did it to life. Shout out to the monkey masks. I love the glasses too.